by saying congratulations on this documentary. I've had a chance to sit down and watch it, and it's an amazing documentary, so congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about where the journey first started for you with this documentary. When did the idea first come to you?
I was at the Atlanta Film Festival, and I was speaking on a panel about, I think, making documentaries. I had a documentary feature film in the festival that year. And afterwards, people come up to you and talk to you. And two people came up to me and talked to me and said, "We have an idea for you." And I just went, "Oh, thanks so much. You know, I'm booked." But and one of the guys was Cassidy, who ended up being one of the stars of this documentary. And he asked me to go to coffee. So I thought, oh, I'll do a coffee. He's a young aspiring filmmaker. Let's chat it up. And I went, thinking it was going to be 45 minutes. And 2.5 hours later, I had heard his story, and I thought it was amazing. So I agreed to come visit this residential recovery facility where the men lived and where some were required to be there by the courts to try and get sober. And I thought I was going to go for a 1-hour tour, and I think I was there for over 6 hours.
Wow.
Seeing everything that they did and the work that they do and meeting the people, and it was amazing. So I signed up not to make a film at that point. I was just going to mentor them and teach them some screenwriting stuff and work on projects with them. Mentor the film guys there because they wanted to start a burgeoning film company was the idea. And then over the course of it, they decided to make a short film, and I realized that by supporting them, maybe the best thing I could do is make a feature documentary about the process. So our movie that you've seen is a kind of a behind the scenes about the creative process while in the world of recovery. So it was a lot. There was a lot happening, but the world of recovery was amazing, and the people that we worked with were so incredible. They laugh really, really hard often, and they also are really vulnerable and cry hard often. So it is just a really unique subculture to get a chance to work within. So that's how we came to kind of stumbling into making a feature film about these guys.
So what was it about Cassidy's story that made you want to help him? You said that you started off by wanting to be a mentor after you spoke to him. What was it about his story that made you think, I want to help this guy?
Cassidy sees the world in stories. I think when you sit with someone and talk story that they have absorbed, for him, music, poetry, but movies as a primary language of expressing, understanding, and emoting. And that's how he functions, which is just really wonderful and rare. And then I could see in him this genuine desire to make art that has meaning, to express his turmoil and troubles and journey through art, and particularly making movies. And it just really resonated with me. I have worked long enough now that I'm just at a point where I could look back at my and have a body of work, and to see one of the strong threads that ties them all together is this desire to follow people making things. And I see that in this project very, very thickly, very much so.
How did you feel emotionally when you first went into that facility with him and saw what it was like in there, but saw what it was like for people battling with addiction?
Man, it can be incredibly overwhelming. The way that they are so raw with each other, and you could try and keep a thick skin on and make it through, but you can't really do 18 months of this really hard, strict, cold turkey, no medication, no smoking. Other recovery programs have ways to kind of cope, but at least you're not doing harder substances. This particular one was a religious-based facility that was really hard-lined, and it made for a really wild place. And I think overwhelmed is totally fair. I'm eager to learn and observe. That's a thing that documentary storytellers are good at. We can be in situations and kind of take on like an anthropological view of the world where we, not hiding behind your camera, but you have it as a form of safety. But in this place, you were just in it. And me and the other cameramen were just steeped in 4 a.m. wake-up calls, punishments that were really strenuous and hard labor, hard work, and they'd sing and serve food. It was wild. So I think the short answer is overwhelmed, comma, observationally overwhelmed.
Yeah. Addiction is something that so many people battle with. I'm sure we've all known someone in our lives at some stage that's battled with addiction. How much about addiction and mental illness did you know before you started this journey with this film?
Yeah, one of the lines we've come to is that everybody knows someone in recovery or who should be. And I think that really resonates. It's something that when someone's on the road to recovery, it is so all-consuming that there is no life outside of being steeped in it. And as soon as you love someone that has been in it or through it, family members, you can't help but know it deeply. And so, as we met people and as we brought in more team members and as we found composers and colorists and sound mixers, and everybody had stories that as soon as they found out what it was or heard the stories of the guys, were quick to share their own stories or the stories of people they love. So what we found in the film is as we told their stories, so honestly, one of the things is there are movies that are educational movies or, one of the high-level, really famous people who that we pitched it to, they wanted to make something recovery that was like people in white coats explaining addictions and explaining more about opioids and fentanyl, and that's not the movie we were going to make. Like, we wanted to be the exact opposite side. We wanted to just tell human stories, and if this film can add empathy to people's journeys because they get to see the human side of addiction, that was the story we were going to tell with this, because there are 23 plus million people that identify as having a substance abuse in the United States of America alone. And so this is a global-wide issue that faces so many people. We just wanted to show the human side of it with this story.
How did the guys take the news that you were going to make a documentary about their journey? Were they happy? Were they a little bit nervous? How did they feel?
Oh, at first they were really happy. They're filmmakers. I mean, they at times, it's not enough to call it a found footage film. That would be an exaggeration, but they filmed a lot. Both of Josh and Cassidy, the subjects, are listed as cameramen in the film because so much of that world, we didn't live with them constantly. We were there for big chunks of time, but we weren't with them for, the film kind of spans over a year. So we were relying on things that they filmed and interviews they did and footage that they shot of videos for the recovery center. And so they liked it. And then as we got closer to making the short film and it got hard, I think there was that moment again of pushing on their vulnerability and honesty to allow themselves to be true and real on camera. And that's hard for anybody, but that's your job as a documentary filmmaker, is to provide the safest environments for people to be their most true selves with you on camera. And I think we did that. It's one of the aspects of the film I'm probably most proud of, is just how real and natural it feels, and in that way the camera kind of goes away and you feel like you were there experiencing it with them, which is the real gift of modern filmmaking, documentary filmmaking.
Definitely. Now, Clean Slate is about to get released to a wider audience, and you're about to do some screenings where you're going to do Q&As as well. How do you feel now that the film is going out to a wider audience, and what do you hope that people take away from this film?
Oh, I love it. Great question. We are going to do limited theatrical, and I'm so excited. Watching films in theaters with people and then getting to do a Q&A with the filmmakers or subjects is, in my opinion, one of the great gifts of seeing movies. Right? We're so used to seeing things on streaming or on our phones and our computers. It's losing what it means to share communally a story and to be moved by it. One of the greatest takeaways, we did some test screening, and one of the people who watched the film came up afterwards and said, my brother, she's an older lady, and apparently middle-aged lady, and my brother has gone through addiction, and it came to a point where we, for the last 10 years, have not spoken with him. I have now seen what he's going through and what his life is like. I want to forgive my brother, and I'm going to show the film to my parents, and I think it will reconcile our family. So we were like, the film wasn't even done yet, and we were like crying basically and saying that's why we made the movie. So I'm excited for it to find a wider audience and for the listeners of this to see it and then to share it, because it will resonate. The people who are struggling will be seen and be shown honestly. But also what I'm finding is the friends and family members of people who are on the road of recovery are really resonating with the film. So that brings me joy. It makes it worth 5 years of journeying to make a film, and you can watch it in 80 minutes. It's a really wild medium that we work in, but it feels like teleportation into the American South in a residential recovery place where people are required to get healthy or serve hard time, and that's the world of this film.
Definitely. Well, Jared, I guess to finish off, what would you like to say to people out there who are going to go and see this film? Is there anything that you would like to say to them?
Oh, well, thanks for seeing movies, and thanks for supporting truly independent cinema. The more that we get into this and work on movies, you realize how many gatekeepers there are where you think, oh, everything that exists is just for streaming. That's not the case. I feel like you can make things now easier than ever in the world of film, but the biggest hurdle, the highest hurdle now is to get eyeballs, to get people to see your film and absorb it. So my thing I would say to everybody who's going to watch it is thank you. Thanks for engaging these guys, and let them into your hearts and your lives and your brain, and then don't finish it and move right on. Like, finish it and go on a walk. Like, look at a tree and take a deep breath and be grateful for what you have in your life, and then consider ways that this film adds empathy to your life or alters the way that you are going to live tomorrow. And I feel like that is the greatest honor you can give to me as a filmmaker, is the attention span, the engagement, and then letting it alter the way you see the world in a little bit makes my life and my job worth it.